Hello and welcome into the SorareData Strategy Show. I am Andrew Laird. You can find me as Lairdinho on Sorare. Joined today, not by Sean Newsham again. He got Robin Proper this week, late scratch due to an illness. But we brought the heavy hitters in today, Maxime and Clement, who are the brains of SorareData. I don't want to put down anyone else, but these two, I'm going to end up insulting everyone else I work with, but I'm going to do it anyway. These two are two of the smartest people I've ever worked with, and they make working at SorareData so much better because it makes me smarter. And so I benefit from all of their work. But gentlemen, thank you for coming on. And Maxime, I feel like this is almost like not a replay, but we have to redo last week's show because all we talked about were cat modes and winning ETH. And then Sorare were like, hey, here's more. And now we have to just redo it again.
Yeah. So yeah, I have to introduce Clement also as our Chief Football Officer because I think it's a great title to have. But yeah, very nice to be back on. Good afternoon and good morning and even good evening to people in the chat. Yeah, so I've seen your podcast with Andrew also, announcing just at the right time for your podcast the new prize pool. Yeah, I think it's a step in the right direction, but I feel like there's still a lot of room to fill that gap that they left with the AllStar rare threshold being, let's say, a split around divisions, and I feel like it's kind of, setting a precedent. You're paying more than the podium, you're paying ranks below podium ranks. That means that why only AllStar rare, or why only AllStar division, right? And why not regional divisions? So I guess fun times coming.
Clement, well, let me go back actually. Were you prioritizing the at least cap 240 after they announced it because of the threshold?
Yeah, I was not quite sure what I was prioritizing. I just was fooling around to see how to organize my card because I don't really have a gallery centered around T0s and nice stars. So I just like to play cap because it's just fun to just try to find the good alignments. And it's kind of fun to do, but not really prioritizing cap 240 because at least when you play limited, the payout is not so great. You would prefer still to go for the better cards. So I still was prioritizing some other divisions, but it was still fun to play and just trying to get the best star constellation alignment, if I can put it this way, because it's just not good enough just to get the threshold. You want to go reach higher, and actually in rare it doesn't work so well because if you just try to go way above 320 points or something like that, you just don't actually get so much more than the threshold. So just trying to find the balance, but I guess everybody was in the hype of playing the cap divisions and just a lot of people. So we'll see how it goes in the next week and if people realign to playing AllStar again. No.
It did feel a little strange to me with cap 240 when you're in that area where you have reached the threshold, but you haven't reached a card reward, which we had in AllStar Rare for years, that you could get to 205 or 250 and not be close. But it feels like the minimum points required for cards in the cap modes is lower, which is understandable because the cards aren't quite as good. But it didn't feel as much like a win when it was you got 0.02 ETH and you're 39 points from a tier 3 rare, and you're just why did I do this? I don't know. It just seems like it's a little short so far, and the gap to qualifying for ETH in the AllStar competitions just feels so high. We did ask for more ETH, for them to pay more ETH and more spots than just podium. And I guess it just feels greedy to say they're still not paying enough, but it still doesn't feel like they're paying enough.
No, so I think what they did is trying to restart a bit the T0, T1 market, because I think that those cards drive the market overall. And I feel like if you have like, because it's pretty simple. If you want to win big at Sorare, it's probably by winning like Neymar, Kimmich, or Mbappe and stuff like that. And if those prices fall down, I think that for everyone, like your gains like look like kind of like smaller every day, and so you're like, I don't really want to win an Mbappe that is that is worth like 3 times less than 2 months ago, basically.
2 weeks ago.
But yeah, we too. But so I think like they want to make sure that T0s are going a bit like not stop the count, let's say, and like kind of go up a bit now. And so that's why they did that, in my opinion. But that doesn't fix the problem that you're paying only like top ranks and not like let's say great performances like based on someone's gallery, for example. Like someone with a small gallery with T2, T3s will play in capped modes 220 or 240, but probably more 220. And those people don't get much out of this change, unless like maybe the fact that the market will not crash as fast as it was supposed to before this change. So I think there's a lot of room for improvement, and I think like now you can focus on like rewarding like great performances, but like based on someone's performance and based on someone's context and someone's gallery, and not just like paid top ranks because they played like the best cards available for that game week. And so I think that's all about the progression bar now, and also monthly leaderboards and yeah, leaderboards where you can at least like have some eligibility requirements. For example, like leaderboards in AllStar Limited for people that have had like 15 cards along the 15 limited cards, for example, along the way. So I think you can manage some kind of price pool that is more directed towards like players that will never win those ETH prices in All-Star divisions.
Do you think they're more likely to, if they add ETH rewards in other competitions, do you think they're more likely to do a threshold in 220 and 270, or put them into the regional competitions?
Well, I think thresholds are not the solution here. I
Oh,
think
okay.
like a progression bar is way better because it adapts to someone's context, right? It's like, okay, so Andrew, you have like for example, if you have like not a lot of cards, you can have a progression system that focuses on the fact that you performed well, but not enough to reach top ranks. And for example, based on your gallery, you could have like a certain amount of points. For example, if you picked like, for example, the 5 best players of your gallery, if you made like the right decisions, but that wasn't enough like to pay for like to get a reward in the divisions that you play, you should be able to get something out of this. And obviously not ETH directly, but something that goes towards a tier 3 or tier 2, or at least ETH. And so I think that's the next step. And maybe also, I don't know, deepen like the number of ranks you're actually paying in All-Star Limited, for example, and All-Star Rare. Like not paying a lot to like, let's say, the top ranks, but like increasing the number of people you reward. So yeah, I think that's the two main. These are the two main things I would look to.
And what would you think about like having like a global leaderboard that would give some ETH, but it's like a fallback option? Let's say if you didn't reach any, like if you didn't get any ETH from like the All-Star division or from the payout in cap, but you still reach enough points. Let's say, I don't know, like can say something like 1,000 points or 1,200 points over the month, you're eligible for something. This way, like it's kind of a balance between like you did well overall, like in average, but you still like never reach like the standard point to get like in the top 100th division or something like that. So I assume they're keeping some of this ETH payout for those leaderboards that are promised to come soon.
Yeah, I think the game doesn't reward consistency today. It doesn't reward it rewards performance, but it doesn't reward consistency. And if you, I think it's a way more difficult performance to actually like perform like 350 over like 10 game weeks than like over 10 game weeks scoring at least one time over 400 points, for example. And I think that's probably how you make sure that some cards that are undervalued, like for example T2 or T3s, they have the 220 division, of course, but you can make also sure that those cards can be used on the in the longer term and with like long-term leaderboards. And I think also that's a nice way to retain people that have lost. Like this game week has been a bit like crazy and a bit like low scoring game week and with a lot of bad decisive actions, let's say, and also a lot of DNPs. So I think like if you tell your users, okay, maybe you lost this game week, but next game week, like the points you scored this game week count towards like the global leaderboard or the monthly leaderboard, I think it's better this way.
I don't know anybody who is as passionate about the progression bar as you are.
No, I don't. No, no one is. But
sorry, go on. Yeah, I'm anxious to see how these leaderboards work, the global leaderboards, because we don't. I mean, I assume we all think they'll be either monthly or a whole season, and then it depends kind of where the seasons line up, because not every league has the exact same schedule, or if they do it by league. And I think it'll be interesting to see how many rewards they're holding for that, because obviously whatever goes into there cannot go elsewhere. And now we don't know how many rewards are going anywhere without the calendars so that we can, we just don't know yet. So I don't know. One of the things I love about Sorare is that it's not a season-long game. So it's actually like moving towards that is a negative for me. But like, obviously there are plenty of people who come from different games that like the idea of like, let me just work a little bit each week so that I can progress and win at that point. So
yeah, but I think like what they're doing with like the El Clasico stuff, I think that's I can't find my my team on Sorare. That's it's here. I think that's what they're trying to do with it, like having like I think it's 3 game weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you can do like 3 or 4 game weeks long competitions that reward like also great cards but also experiences. I think that's the right way to do it. And also what they've done before is that like you get like rewards that are actually tickets you can redeem, and I feel like they should do that again, because if you can't make it to Spain, for example, because they won't pay for your travel, I think you can at least like sell the card associated to the ticket and get like an extra value based on that ticket on that card. So I think that's great. So I think they can expand, but like they did it kind of the wrong way by doing a private league associated to those leaderboards. Because like right now I can't find on the website the way to actually like join the private league. So I think that most people, if they didn't read the Medium post or whatever, are not aware that there is a private leaderboard associated to that. So I think it has to be a bit more implemented inside the game. But other than that, I think we're going straight towards those leaderboards, and I think that's going to be a massive enhancement.
Did you enter the one from this game week?
Yeah, the rare one. And so talking about strategy, I prioritized that division. So I thought there was like not a lot of competition on that. Like it's like 250 lineups entered in that competition, I think.
Wow.
Let me check. 246. And I had a great lineup, but obviously my goalkeeper didn't play because it's Rui Silva from Betis, and you never know when he's playing or not. But I prioritized this lineup, so I had like Rui Silva, Gaia, Federico Valverde, Lewandowski, and Griezmann. So Gaia is still left to play, but everyone scored a decisive, so that was a pretty good lineup. And yeah, I was like, okay, let's see how it goes. And I feel like even if you don't score like 400 in the first week, I think like you can score like on the long term. I think my gallery has enough depth to actually reward consistency. So I feel like I have a good shot at it. But I feel like you have to prioritize it if you want to have a shot at it. So I prioritized El Clasico and then All-Star divisions, and then cap 240 regionals, and then cap 270 and cap 220.
Did they do it as a private league because you can use the cards elsewhere? Like, can you use those cards in All-Star? Oh, no.
No, you cannot. You cannot. No, so it's just like a matter of having a leaderboard. That's why they used like the private leagues infrastructure for that.
It was like the cheap way.
So
is there any way for me to see it if I'm not in it?
No, and actually, that's what I'm saying. I cannot find a way to join that private league. Like, I need to find like the Medium post, and it's not like written on the website. Like you should join that leaderboard because it goes toward that leaderboard and stuff like that. So I feel like they need to integrate it a bit better. But like I was talking to someone like this weekend who kind of insulted me without knowing it. Like he was saying like basically with the changes of AllStar, people prioritizing All-Star divisions are really dumb and are really like the dumbest people. He really said that. And I was like, but I'm prioritizing All-Star division. What are you talking about? And he was like, yeah, but All-Star divisions are going to be so much more competitive than before. So you basically have no chance to win. So better play Champion Europe divisions or Challenger Europe divisions or regional divisions as a whole, because you can win bigger prizes there. And like don't get attracted by ETH prize pools on All-Star divisions, because everyone will pay there basically. So I'm not sure about it.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. But what's interesting that like if people just get attracted to like the ETH payouts, like considering like I don't know, like I think based on what the reward value should be for like those top 100, like let's say All-Star Rare, it's like something like in a range of 30%, I think, of the card. Like I mean consistently with the ranking. So it's like, okay, it's an addition of 30% to the price pool basically for those top 100 position. But like I don't see why you would play Champ Europe anyway. If you have a team that goes in Champ Europe, why would you play those into All-Star now? Like, when did you make that decisions to play, for example, your Kimmich and your Lewandowski in All-Star? Like, I think it's like interesting that they decided to do it in All-Star because it's a way like you can play with your Asian teams. And right now we all have like the question like what's going to be in the Asia prize pool later on. So maybe like all those Asian teams will migrate to the All-Star divisions, and then the competition will be quite more fierce, I guess. But the same goes for America. Like MLS is starting next week, and I guess a lot of people are asking themselves if they're prioritizing like America, because like the Champ America prize pool was like awful. Like you can ask people like playing with Argentinian team. Like I didn't enter America once. Like Unlimited I did, because at some point you get to fill the teams. But in Rare I didn't even try, because you just like the prize pool just not interesting. So you try all the division. That's why I was playing Cap to see what it goes, and Kickoff SR and stuff like this, because like it all goes down to like what can you get for the same amount of points, and based on the same amount of points you just decide, okay, what's the best gain. And like I see people do that on some different streams, like checking, okay, what do I get for 400 points? And if the best decision is to go to AllStar, I will go to AllStar. But the thing is that it's like it just shifts every week because many people have the same reasoning, and at the end, like I don't know if there's just one correct decision, because you also have to consider like the upside. Like I don't think that you can say with confidence that my team is gonna do 400 points for one specific game week. So you just also have to adapt to that. And I guess like what was great, it was really comforting with the previous system of AllStar is that even if you miss, you still have your threshold. Then next game week and you move. Now you cannot really do that because it's just way too easy to miss in Cap 240. So you just have like to make more decisions, and I think that's great in terms of like if you want to be competitive about Sorare, you have just so much more decisions to make as to what divisions do you want to try and what division you just want to focus. Like we can talk about like what lineups you want to submit every game week, but just even like in your gallery construction, let's say. So maybe for Maxime, for you, because you have a much bigger gallery than me, maybe you just don't really buy anyone. You just have like enough people to fill all the teams that you want to fill. But for me, just like, okay, what do I want to buy in the next 3 months so that I can be competitive in it? And right now I just bought a few players from different regions. I'm like, okay, I will try cap mods. And it didn't work as well as I hoped it would. So just now I'm trying to find another way to just, okay, how do I optimize my T2s and my T1s to make sure that I get some stuff at the end of the week. It's not easy, and that's what makes it really interesting, actually. Even if I'm not winning, I'm just really happy to play those days.
I think one of the big things one of the like immediate responses of some of the people that I know who played DFS and came over to Sorare is, when it comes to DFS, people love to see what they can win, see what the prize is if they win the whole thing, like if they finish first. And it's such a draw. And even the further down you go, people are like, well, obviously I'm going to win. So I'm going to enter this contest that pays me $1 million if I win. And the response on Sorare when the announcement came out of like how many people will win ETH, there was the original like, well, it's not that many people. Like, was AllStar Rare 100? Is that what it was? The top 100 win?
Yes.
So that sounds like initially you're like, oh, I just have to finish in the top 100. And then you're like, well, there are 10, 15,000 people entering. So now it like starts to get a little harder, but people still see like there's more that I can win. So yes, I'm going to go there. Whereas in Cap 240, you can get your threshold, which is less than what you can win in AllStar, but also you have the possibility to win a prize. But people just look at that top, like that you can win more in AllStar Rare, and they're like, I just want to go play where I can win more, even though most people are not going to win that. Like you want to win, sure, but realistically, you're going up against significantly better lineups in AllStar because it's uncapped. People can play whoever they want. But I do think that there are enough people who see the more prizes, meaning more ETH, and they're like, yes, that's where I'm going to go, and I'm going to win every week. And they don't. And then that's where it takes a little while for those people to be like, oh, maybe I should go somewhere else because I haven't won ETH yet. Because finishing in the top 100 is hard. Like it's hard in any competition.
Yeah,
I guess,
but
because everybody wins that.
On the like on this and on like prioritizing AllStar, it's so if you have like MLS players, I mean, like don't play them in America. It's absolutely nonsense to me because, or at least if you have decent players, if you don't trust them, like play them in America. But I feel like you can get great cards in AllStar, but you also can get very bad cards. But most of the time in America or in Asia, you would get bad cards anyway. So at least you have a decent shot at getting good cards in AllStar. Like, for example, tier 2s in AllStar are not that bad compared to tier 2 in Asia and tier 2 in America. That's pretty much. And I think it applies also to Challenger Europe at some degree. Not much in Champion Europe, but that could be discussed. So I guess like even if like people are attracted with ETH prices, I think that you have to prioritize AllStar if you have like American or Asian cards, and even Challenger Europe cards, and because the price pool is better. I mean, like, okay, you have a chance to win bad cards, but it's most of the time better than playing regional divisions. So I think like having that upside of like getting ETH if you get like a great performance, especially in All-Star Rare, makes even more attractive. And I don't think like I think people were already like sending their T0s and T1s in All-Star division and maybe also in regional divisions, but I guess more people have seen the interest in playing in All-Star Pro recently because like you get paid significantly more because like you have like 150 paid ranks compared to Challenger and Champion Pro, which are like 50 ranks paid. And I don't think the competition is way higher in All-Star than in regional divisions. So I think it's still a no-brainer, and I still I'm a bit humiliated to have been insulted this way by someone who didn't mean wrong, but it was like, oh no, you have to be a big dumb guy if you do that. And I was like, okay, tell me more. So no, I think the prioritizing All-Star division is still the way to go, and you should not prioritize cap division because there is too much competition there. Like basically,
what if it's not true because people follow your advice?
no, yeah, I mean, yeah, probably, but I think like already people are already like targeting. I guess like the usual way of thinking of most galleries, like large galleries, is like I'm starting with Champ Europe D3, so Rare Pro, then All-Star Rare Pro, maybe U23 Rare Pro, and U23 Rare Pro is very difficult if you don't have the right cards. And then a Challenger Rare Pro, and probably then Cap Divisions. And I guess that was the way people were thinking all this time, and I don't think it really changed. And I'm not really concerned that this would change a lot.
I was looking at Champion America. Was it last midweek? Might have been last, whenever it was. I don't remember. But there were 3 prizes. It had to have been a midweek. And I had a legitimate lineup, but it was just so disheartening to think that I could have a great lineup and have a great score and finish 4th and win nothing. So I just put it in All-Star, where I also won nothing. But it's just not, it feels crazy to like look at a contest that there are plenty of dead lineups that go into like people enter lineups in every competition that really have no chance, or they have DNPs. So it's always very difficult, I guess, just to look at the rewards and the entries because there's just a lot of them are not realistic. But anyway, it was just, there was no reason for me to enter America. Like the best, like even if I won it, like the card I was going to win is not going to be as good as that same score in All-Star, even if I didn't win All-Star. And so, but just like looking at 3 rewards for a pro division just felt like there's no reason for me to go here. And the one I was going to come back to was Cap 270, which seems like easily the worst competition now.
Yes.
Which made me want to enter it on the super rare level, at least. Like I don't have like elite super rares. And this announcement comes out, they're going to, the first announcement comes out that they're going to start doing star super rares in the super rare division, D2. That came out like a few weeks ago. I decided to play All-Star Super Rare about 2 months ago when the rewards were bad because I'm like, nobody's playing here. So I get these super rares, and now they're like, hey, star super rares. And I'm like, uh-oh, they're going to start coming. And now they're like, here's some ETH too in All-Star. And I'm like, okay, I'm leaving now. I'm going to go where nobody wants to play, which is Cap 270. But I do wonder if Cap 270 becomes so bad that they just get rid of it. because like why play cap 270 other than nobody with a huge gallery wants to play there because the rewards aren't the same as AllStar.
But the main problem with cap 270 is that their prize pool is not well formed, because you would have, like, let's say 6 tiers of players. You could make cap 270 way more attractive than what is actually right now. So cap 270, this game week, you get like the 7 top ranks get a super rare. It's either a tier 2 for the podium or a tier 3 for 4 to 7s. So they get a super rare, tier 2, tier 3, and a star rare. So that's pretty cool, right? But then you get like 20 tier 1s and then 100 tier 2 and then 200 tier 2. So that's pretty okay. But let's say you have like, the problem with tier 2s and tier 3s super rare is like you have so many players in those tiers. Like you have 2,000 players in tier 2 and probably I think like it's quite double the size in tier 3, right? So I mean, okay, the star rare is pretty cool, right? But I mean, you probably want ETH instead of, like, imagine you can hit like a very good performance with that team. You can probably enhance it with a better card to have like a sick lineup, and you probably want to field it in AllStar or in regional, because you're going to get ETH and a star rare. And a tier 2 super rare most of the time is pretty bad, and like pretty bad, like unsellable type of card. And so that's why it's not attractive. Whether if you have like, let's say 5 or 6 tiers, you can have like a tier 1 to start with, a tier 2, some tier 3s, and tier 4s and tier 5s. And like, I feel like your head for it is completely wrong, say Sebastian in the chat. And I feel like if you have like a 270 a lineup, I feel like you should play in that division, but you should not prioritize it. Yeah, I don't see why you should prioritize it.
Sebastian disagrees with you.
No, but I feel like I don't mind the division, but like also it's a very result-oriented message because he's winning in the division, but he's fourth in the division. But I feel like if you have like a larger gallery, it's like you don't want to play that. It's like the final division you want to play in. So, but if you have like a perfect lineup for the cap 270 mode, probably you should play it. But I'm not sure it's the lineup you want to start with.
That's fair.
Maybe Clément disagrees and
No, like to me, that's what I said. I think when it started, like I understood 220, I understood 240, but the 270 with XP and like all the power included just doesn't make sense to me, because it's not so much a constraint as opposed to playing AllStar. So you can just basically play almost any divisions because the constraint is not so big. So I don't think that many people actually plays with like DNP players or anything like that in 270. So it's not like there's not so much of a constraint in the building. And you have the power and everything like that. So the scoring is quite high compared to what it normally is. Like if you were like checking the different caps, you just like to look weird in 270. And I would have preferred like if it was a cap 200 and with an MVP like system. Like, but if you want to play Kimmich in that division, it's for free. The cost doesn't count, and you can just play these players and play 4 guys around him for like 200 points. And that still gives some utility, because you were talking about that actually at the beginning of the stream, but to give more utility to T0, because obviously they lost a bit with the change of system, and still having like system that makes sense with cap, because 270 to me just not really interesting. So and the competition was so fierce that I would actually play AllStar over to 270. Like I tried a bit just to see, and the ranking doesn't make any sense. Like if you just is that the ranking you were putting? Yeah,
This is AllStar super rare.
So
Okay.
like right now,
This is a cap 270, right?
the cap 270. So you have a 50% bonus. So that's a bit different. But I guess like if I do quick math, the leader of the cap 270 would win the AllStar Rare division, right?
That's what I'm just seeing.
And-
Yeah, like
Yeah,
490. Oh, that's
yeah,
a
490 because 50%. So you have to remove
Yeah.
like 25 points or something. So you
Yeah.
get like still like 465, and that's
Yep.
still better than All-Star. So what I mean is you would get, by winning All-Star Rare, you would get like 0.58 ETH and a Star Rare. Okay. And the 15 top ranks get ETH and a Star Rare. So I guess that's why cap 270 should not be prioritized over All-Star Rare. I mean, if you have a sick lineup that you believe in, I think you should play it in All-Star Rare. So I'm not saying the cap 270 is a bad division, but I guess like playing Mbappe in cap 270 is like, wow, that's a statement. I mean, this game week, I understand because there were injury concerns, but any time of the day, I would play Mbappe in All-Star divisions or at least U23, but not in cap 270.
Well, if you have a player with a huge edge, like I don't know, if like you have the substitute goalkeeper for that will play, or something like that, like the cost is 0 and you can put like your best team next to him and just fit the cap, and this way you can probably expect to have at least 400 points and to ensure that you will be in the top 10 or something. Then in those situations, I guess it would still make sense to play 270. But if it's not the case and just have like 5 regular players with regular cost and so on, then I agree with you. They might as well play them in All-Star.
Do you think that the podium ETH in All-Star is worth more than the tier 2 super rare that you win for 270? Because there's no ETH in cap 270.
I mean,
well, maybe that's just me, but I prefer to take ETH every time I get the opportunity. Just like
yeah, because you could get a great card, a great T2 super rare, and that exists. But good luck trying to sell it, and most of the time you won't get a great T2 super rare, and so good luck selling it. And it's worth probably less than the ETH that you would get from All-Star Rare. And I understand it. It's pretty simple to think that because there's so much more competition in All-Star Rare, you don't have the chance. You won't win it, and you probably won't make it in the top 15. But a great cap 270 lineup is probably close to being competitive in All-Star Rare, and so that's why, like, if you can add something a bit better, like in a spot where you have like a low L15, you should probably use that lineup in All-Star Rare.
Well, and if you're going to high roll your game week, you might as well high roll it in a way that you get the most benefit from it. Like if you make your best lineup ever and you get 500 points, but it's in cap 20, 220, and you get just dog shit, and you're just a bit sad, right?
So Sebastian is saying that for small galleries, it's more attractive because of the 50% bonus, and you are forced to play a slightly worse team that you could do in All-Star Rare. But that's what I mean. And I'm not talking about small galleries. I think like if you have a small gallery, you want to target the competition where your gallery is the best in. And so if you're looking to play 270 competitively, then why not? But to me, for a small gallery, the option to win tier 2 super rares is not very attractive. I would target divisions where I can win star rares, and you get star rares with the cap 270 mode. But like have the play in the division where you can win the best rare possible and have the best chance to actually win them. And I would also look at how I can make the most ETH out of my gallery. But I guess like everyone builds this gallery in its own way. But I guess like for like large galleries, let's say, or for galleries that can play competitively in regional or all-star, cap 270 is not very attractive.
So thinking about this idea of capped 200 with an MVP, isn't that close to 270? Because like most players at MVP you would play have L15s around 70. So like,
But-
isn't that
But
what you want?
that would go against Sebastian's point that, and I think if you look at the data, you can have a pretty good answer. Who is playing actually Cap 270? And if like small galleries are playing Cap 270, you're taking that away from them. And a Cap 200 mode with an MVP, I don't think it makes sense for football. I don't like it, to be fairly honest. And I think like you want to do that only if you have a division that is targeting larger galleries and not like small ones.
That's fair. Clement, how have you played? Have you played 270 yet?
I played it once, I think.
And that was enough.
Yeah, that was enough. Yeah, that's where when I came to the conclusion that I might as well like try my luck in Kickoff Super Rare. Because like the reward at dog shit as well, but at least the entry point is quite low in terms of points, so you just like need your super rare to score like a 60 or something, and that you should be fine. You don't need so much more than that. You don't have any, for some reason they removed the cost constraint that was at 55 in the previous kickoff system. Now they removed it, so you actually, if you look at the kickoff rare, you see some super lineups that makes no sense at all. Like you have people playing with Tadic, Mbappe, Kimmich, and they just put one rare that actually sometimes is a star, and they just end up with more than 450 points for a division that just rewards you most of the time with a tier 2 or tier 3. So it's quite funny. And some people can actually play the kickoff rare and the kickoff super rare at the same time. Just like some stuff that don't make sense. So yeah, the fight. Well, just is it what was intended when they made the progression system? Like,
I don't feel it's a bad thing to actually be able to play like Kickoff Super Rare and Kickoff Rare at the same time.
I don't know if it's a bad thing. It's just like people like having like galleries with 100, 200 limities and just like 10 rare and 1 super rare, and just quite funny in the construction of galleries. That's something that we didn't see before. And what's interesting to me is that you can make this choice. Like you can build your gallery around those competitions. So that's quite interesting. My only worry with that is that, I don't know, they can make another Medium post in 3 months and say, okay, this is offer, we will do something totally differently, and you add your gallery that was built for this exact thing, and that doesn't work anymore. So I'm not doing that, but if you do it and you win, you're successful, good for you. But you just have to consider that you're taking a risk, but they can just change all the rules and all the divisions at some point, and that it doesn't make sense anymore. That's my only worry with it.
Yeah, that's a great point actually, and I think like they should at least be. So we heard today that they were not going to do calendars anymore, and they would integrate that into their website. But there will be a transition where they won't like communicate on calendars and stuff like that. So I think like on this topic, they should be way more transparent on like at least give a deadline of like how long these divisions are going to be there for, and like at least say we are not going to touch on the kickoff divisions for like 3 months or something, because I think like the fact that like you're saying that you should not necessarily build a division around kickoff divisions, build a gallery around the kickoff divisions just based on the fact that these divisions could evolve or could change is a big problem to me, because they did that in the past by removing underdog and specialist divisions and replacing them a bit differently. But like if you had invested, for example, in a big T0, or like you would play it in specialists, it probably like did a bad move on this one, because like this T0 has probably lost a lot of value, and you probably can't play it consistently in Cap 240 and Cap 220. So I mean, like we need a bit more transparency on like how long these divisions are here for, and like if they can also communicate on when they would actually like look at the format and say, oh, we are actually going to change it. That would be like better for people that are trying to build galleries on the long term.
Yes, definitely. Like it's the worst thing, I think, like when they change like all the system around like how divisions work, like what is the progression system as they call it. Like for me, that's the main thing. Like people are like, okay, but should I invest? Like, do I want to buy super rares now? Because how long are you gonna change it in July? Like if I buy like 10 super rares, or what was the number that many people agreed upon is like between 15 and 20. If you want to play the cap 240 consistently, like you need enough depth to do that, and you need about 15 to 20 cards. At least that was for rare. I think it should be the same for super rares, because I don't see why not. But if you want to buy those cards and you know they're quite hard to sell once you acquired them, and you do that, and it's only for 6 months, you don't have the time to get a return on investment in 6 months for super rare most of the time. So you're just like, okay, so what if I'm stuck with them? And just because you don't have any vision of if it's like, okay, which we just like can twink the numbers, it can be not 240, it can be something like 245 or something like that. They could just say, okay, that's what can change, but the spirit can stay for at least to the end of 2023. So at least you know that you have at least 1 year of safety, that you can get some ETH payout and you can have some return on your cards. At least it helps you project, because for most of the user base that plays limited, and that's the main target, I assume, right now, especially regarding how they put the cursor on onboarding. But for limited division, is not really an issue, because it's quite easy to project, and maybe for most of the cards to have a return on investment in 1 year. But when you go into the progression system and you go to rare and super rare, and even I'm not even talking about unique, but when you go on the ladder and just like, okay, do I want to invest on those? And I think like many people are stuck to just rare, because it's just like, okay, I'm not putting the money on the table if I don't have any concrete evidence that it will stay. Because like as we could see on the new system, like the rare pro looks, I don't know the word in English for that, like, you know, but the thing that looks like it can be removed anytime, like, you know, you just like I don't know if it's a grape, I don't know, grape, like I don't know, like you just can grab it, remove it, and just like disappear, and nobody noticed it was there before. So it looks like that to me on the rare pro. So it's like, okay, I'm not touching super rare right now because it doesn't make sense. At the same point, like the kickoff is quite interesting, so we'll see. I don't know what you take on that.
That's why I'm not buying a super rare goalkeepers. It's basically why I'm not doing that. It's like they've been like removing, adding constraints on super rare divisions, and like also I feel it's pretty unfair for some divisions to allow super rare goalkeepers and some not allowing them. But I guess that could change anytime. So I wouldn't be at peace if I own a lot of like super rare goalkeepers, because their value could be changed like dramatically by one single decision.
I want to hope that they fix the rare and super rare discrepancy by this weekend. That's all. That's all I'll say. But anyway, back to the kickoff thing. I forget who the Sorare manager was, but somebody tweeted, I think it was in French, so you guys may know who it is, but they have like one of the most super limited galleries I've ever seen. Like every elite card you would ever want, they have in limited. And they were like, oh, I'll play kickoff. And they bought a rare Tadic.
Oh,
and
no, that's Moalito, yeah.
So like my response to that, like when I saw it, was like, I don't think that's what they meant to like get people to move into rare. However, if you have somebody who is that heavily invested, even in limited, and it did get them to buy a star rare card, maybe that's exactly what they wanted people to do. And so I don't know where they finished this week, but I'm assuming pretty well, since Tadic banged 100 anyway, but I don't know what the rest of the lineup was. Lineup building is another part of it.
So not still Joao Mario left to play, and they are ranked 55th. But Tadic scored 100, so yeah, that's 150 points already.
Right.
But, yeah. He's estimated to finish on the 6th place, and 6th place is a tier 2 rare. Yes, tier 2 rare.
Yeah. Oh, right in front of Aurelian.
But I'm not sure that's a good that's good math, right? I feel like if you have a great limited division, let's say limited gallery, I think you want to prioritize those players on AllStar limited, right?
Well, I don't think they struggled to get an All-Star limited lineup in.
Yes, probably. But I think that they were like, okay, no one will actually do that because you want to play your best limited in AllStar limited, right? I don't think they consider that would be a problem, having like large galleries playing those divisions, because they probably thought, why would they do that while they can? Yeah, like I don't know if there are like a lot of people like having very large limited galleries and good limited galleries with like less than 10 rare cards. I think if you look at the data, you think like it's maybe like 10, 20 people, and you're like, okay, am I not doing this because of 10, 20 people? I don't know.
Then why remove the constraint on the L15? Like it was 55. Like if you really,
that's a good fix. Yeah.
You think they should go back to 55, or you like that they got rid of it?
No, that's a good fix, but again, that kind of contradicts what we were saying just before. Like, if they change that, they will have people be mad at them, because like if you have Armor Alito and you bought like a Tadic rare based on the rule set, on the current rule set, you're like, are you kidding me, right?
no, exactly. I think they should never, like, until July, because they said they will. I think they will announce something in July, something like that. I think it won't change until July, was the exact wording. You should not change the rules now, but it's just weird to me that the kickoff used to be limited to 55 L15, and they removed that. Like it was a quite simple rule that made somewhat sense, and they made a whole new system based on cap divisions, and they removed for the kickoff this rule. So just why?
But I kind of disagree with what you just said. Like, they're changing the rules every day by changing the prize pools. I mean, like, they changed the rules of All-Star divisions. Maybe someone that bought like a Champion Europe division because All-Star wasn't attractive to them at that time. Now they're like, oh, but I should have bought this guy from the Challenger Europe because that would have been a better All-Star division. So, I mean, okay, you probably shouldn't delete or like at least remove divisions, right? But like, they're changing the rules every day, and so I think that's a fake excuse to actually like say, oh, we shouldn't add that limitation. If it's a good thing for the game, I think you should do it. I mean, a Tadic is still a great card. If Kickoff has a limitation, it shouldn't have an impact on Tadic valuation, right?
I almost feel like it gives users a reason not to enter, because like you would never buy a Tadic rare if the limitation of 55 was there. Like,
yes.
So it's almost pushing you to buy a star or a tier 1 so that you can get, as much as we try to like not say it, like a big part of this game is just getting the best players and hoping they score the most points. And like, if you're limiting that, then now I have no reason to buy. If I'm thinking of going from limited to rare, and we always do think of people going from that and like buying the cheapest rare, there are people who are like, I guess I will just buy the best rare I can since I only have to buy one.
Yeah, and also I don't
limit them to buying ones that aren't as good.
But also, I think it's overall a bad decision to do that. Like, why would you buy a Tadic to actually play a Kickoff rare? It doesn't make any sense, to be completely honest. At least to me, because like Kickoff, you get like there's one tier 1 being distributed every week, basically, and it's tier 2s and tier 3s. So what are you going to do with them? You're probably going to pray to get a goalkeeper out of them. Basically, if you don't want to spend money on rare cards, and you bank on the fact that you're going to play the Kickoff division and get rare cards. So you're going to pray to get a goalkeeper, and at least one that is not getting tens every game week, right? So you're going to pray on that single fact. So good luck to that. You need to win that division because goalkeepers are in tier 1s and probably not in tier 2s. So you have to win a goalkeeper. Then you have to win three other cards. But you can't play your Tadic in 220, right? You have to play it in 240, and probably you can't play it in 240. So you're going to play in 270, and your cards that you won in kickoff are probably not good enough to actually compete in 270. So don't do that. I mean, so I guess they didn't limit it because they're fine with people playing that, because it doesn't make any sense at the end of the day, because you're not building a gallery with that buy. You're just like banking on the fact that you're going to be lucky and get the right cards to actually play in 220, 240, and 270. I probably discourage people from playing Kickoff Rare by doing that, but at least I feel like it's at least not the right move to actually buy a star rare or an expensive rare to play Kickoff.
I would agree with that, but again, it's just like it's interesting what you mentioned that they're changing the rule by changing the prize pool, but basically, like, they put your focus on something by changing the prize pools, and that's something they could do all the time. And for example, like when we were looking at the ETH payout, like they actually give a bunch of ETH during the midweeks, and I think it might come like more interesting than it used to invest on those midweeks, because like as there are less people, you might more likely to just get ETH payout as opposed to cards, because sometimes the cards price pool is just not so great. And you just are more likely to get return. If you just need 1 or 2 players to play those midweeks, you're just more likely to do it now. And that's also, they can make like make sure that you still keep investing this money, because one of the issue I think they were mentioning, I don't know if they mentioned that explicitly, but with the previous system of ETH payouts, is that like some people can just farm this ETH and just like not reinject it in the game. And the fact that they do it in cap divisions, like create an incentive that you will just keep buying players to play those cap divisions, because you need players that will fit the best criteria to help you win. But also for those midweek divisions, it can be also interesting. But I don't know. They change the prize pool. They change also your attraction to the divisions, and that's also something that we need to monitor, like as users and players, on a weekly basis. Because like I don't know how long people are gonna play the cap division if the prize pool sucks. Like,
I mean, I guess on the limited side of things, I think $5 is not very attractive as a price. But I mean, like a tier 3 limited most of the time is worth less than
yes.
$5. So I guess you're
and
like
$1.
yeah. So, but I guess like $50 for rare is pretty attractive. I don't know. It's basic psychology here. I think like $50. I want them every week. So I guess like your price pool doesn't need to be very attractive as long as you're giving ETH to people scoring 250.
Yeah.
I mean, and you want people to play also other divisions, because like let's say you have 5 or 6 cards and you're like content with cap 240. Maybe if you have like other divisions that are attractive, like I think AllStar is pretty attractive right now, and like you want people to buy those 4 cards left to actually play those divisions.
I wanted to touch on something before our announcement. I think I forgot at the beginning to say that we had an announcement.
Yes,
which is
we
funny
do.
since whoever's still watching now, although I think more people are watching now than in the beginning. If anybody hasn't liked the video, please do so. But the one thing I wanted to touch on before we went is something that I actually thought I was going to start with, because I was talking with Clement about what the topic was today, and what he thought I was talking about was actually different than what my thought was originally. when I told you, Clement, that we were going to talk about like the best way. I don't even remember what I titled this thing. Best way.
The best ways to win
Best
ETH.
way.
Yeah.
What do you think is the best way to win ETH on Sorare?
To not play. You just do trading and investing, and you don't play. Like playing is the best way to ensure that you're losing continuously. So no, but really, like the way I entered Sorare was like just like with $300 and a bit of time, and yeah, just like to me, it's not really like the grind as so much like how much you get in the wallet at the end, because I don't really care. But it's just that I realized pretty soon that you can do much with $300. At the time, there was no limit also. I must point this out because you needed to go into rare divisions, but you could play with a common goalkeeper, so that helped. So the idea is that like if I wanted to just get in some point where I can do things with my gallery, I needed to go around 10 ETH, and so that I can play some division and have some fun. And so there's no way I was doing that with just like trying to invest $1,000 or something like that to just get the threshold. It would just take forever. So my idea was just like, okay, you just do tradings like you can do in some other games or market things. And at the time, like it was just so much easier to do that in Sorare, because like most people were uneducated, and it was so easy to make bank, I would say, but to get the threshold that people would just pay absurd amount of money for a player on Mondays and Fridays compared to like the day before. So you just buy those players 2 days before people do, and you just resell them. And actually, it was just more efficient to sell your 5 players than to actually play to win the threshold. So it just how to make ETH in Sorare was always for me trading until I reached 15 ETH, and then I stopped trading altogether to say, okay, now we will have fun because I have enough to build a gallery that will I will get fun with it. And now that I look back in the last 6 months of my gallery valuation, it's like, okay, I can tell the difference. It kept going up and up when I was trading, and now it's just going down like everybody else. But yeah, that's what I thought when,
Yeah, the less time your a card actually stays in your gallery, the better it is, right? Like, yes. I mean, so for many different reasons, but like I know, like for example, Black, the other Andrew, and Jimmer also has a lot of like doesn't want to sell cards because he has a connection with them, and I feel like a lot of players actually like are in love with their cards and like don't want to sell them. And also it's very difficult to, when you're holding a card and that this card is actually very important in your strategy, in an FSO5 strategy, it's very important to know when when to sell that card and how to replace it. And so it takes a lot of time, I think, to actually being a successful trader on Sorare. But I think like it's probably the best way to actually win ETH. And what you just said about like buying cards 2 days in advance makes so much sense also for NBA. We can see that for NBA, like clear as that, because I mean, like players just get wrecked every single game week because you're buying cards that everyone wants. So basically the price go way up. And those players who had those cards waiting for them to be sold are like, okay, I don't want to play with them. I'm fine. And so by buying this card, you're just buying it's an entry fee basically. And so you're betting on the fact that your lineup will pay back like the current the card you're trying to buy. And yeah, most of the times you're losing when you do that. So yeah,
I remember how often we would see goalkeepers, sub L1540 goalkeepers when we had specialists, because everybody wanted to play like one of their under 40 players as a goalkeeper. And like before game weeks, those prices would always go up. And that's exactly what we see. And you mentioned it, like with NBA, I'm fully convinced that the most profitable way to play NBA is to not play the game. Like it's not close.
Or to play it, but like with the cards that you have, and like banking on the fact, but like you're betting that those guys will have like a breakout performance that game week, but you don't really care about your performance, right? You're like, and the same thing for football. It feels like buying like sub goalkeepers, like young goalkeepers that like buying Lucas Chevalier cards like for the past 2 years, for example. Chevalier sells for 1 ETH today, and I can guarantee you that he was not selling for 1 ETH like 2 years ago. And like just having the knowledge that Lille is going to probably play him because they had a goalkeeper situation at the time, and like you're just sitting on those cards, waiting for them to get value because those players will have a lot of value since they are like U23 goalkeepers. I think it's like the easiest way to play Sorare.
Yeah. And there's plenty of example every game weeks of a goalkeeper going starter, and just like this game week, it was Volendam's goalkeeper. I don't know how to pronounce this name, but Stojkovic. I think it was Filip Stojkovic that got injured for something. I think on his elbow, or whatever. And so this, like the secondary goalkeeper, like just starting to skyrocket. And actually, it was confirmed that he had an injury that required surgery, so he will be out for the end of the season. So again, this morning, another wave. So I actually sold my player. I had this player for 3 months or something like that in my gallery. I think I don't know his name actually. Lovers or something like that. I don't even know his name. I just noticed that he's a secondary goalkeeper that is U23, and he's just second in line in case something happens. So I have a bunch of those, and for some of them I have like 10 cards, and just like waiting. And if I see that if I go to like, I don't go to my gallery evaluation so much for the gallery evaluation stuff, but I just go to gallery evaluation to go the highest to lowest 24 hours variation. I think that's how it's called. And I just check that every morning. Okay, someone raised. Okay, this goalkeeper, just sell it. Okay, no question asked. I don't know the situation. I looked afterwards, but I just, okay, good time to sell. And if you just do that continuously and just don't invest money you just don't buy anyone on the peak. You just buy them on the low. You don't take much risk. The only risk you're taking is that if they go to an exotic leagues. But as Sorare keeps acquiring more leagues and more leagues, it just come very less likely nowadays. Like now there are lots of leagues that get covered, and if they do cover the Saudi leagues and the UAE leagues and all those leagues in the Middle East, then at some point you will be super safe with those kind of strategies. And even when you know that, there's still lots of U23 goalkeepers that are like cheap as hell, like €1. Yeah.
The time frame is also much shorter when we think of what a realistic time frame is. Like it's a matter of months. You're not usually waiting like years. But we also see prices skyrocket within days. I mean, in NBA, even when the game week opens, you can see certain players if they have a low L10, and we're going to see it in all of these cap modes for football. If a player is coming back from injury and he has an L15 of 0, at the beginning of the week, his price will go up. If we know that he's coming back, we see it. There are a few players in MLS this week that are doing this. I have a few. I don't want to like start pumping them because I'm not selling them anyway. But like we see like, maybe I will. But like Brad Guzan and Miles Robinson for Atlanta United, it's goalkeeper, center back, both have L15s of 0. And it's not like, we know it's 0. They're going to play this weekend in the opener, I assume. And on like Thursday night and Friday is when we'll really see them move. Like, I actually think there's still a full week here that everything we know that we'll know on Thursday, we know now. And yet I still think there's an opportunity.
Yeah, I don't think people know actually.
No,
like most of the user base, and like MNS is a very tricky league because like a lot of things happen. You don't really know. Like for example, the goalkeeper situation at Los Angeles FC is like. So I think they bought McCarthy to actually replace Crepo, who is injured. And I'm like, I tried to find some information about it, but I'm like, wow, it's like you have like a lot of risk associated. Like imagine you would buy John McCarthy's card today just on the fact that he's going to start some games for LAFC, like you have to be still pretty sure about what you're doing and still sell the card at the right time. And I think that that's the most undervalued skill at playing Sorare is like trying knowing when to sell your cards, and that's why I'm not a good player. And I feel like the only reason why I'm not a good Sorare player yet is because I don't know when to sell my cards, and for a variety of reasons, I don't sell my cards.
I think you're mistaken on that point. I think you know exactly when to sell cards.
Yeah, I do, but I don't.
You cannot get yourself to sell them. That's the skill.
Exactly. Yeah.
Is actually going on and saying, yes, I'm going to sell this card now. Because it happens in NBA. You have a card and it's going like this. I should sell this card. You know you should sell it.
But you want to pay.
I should have sold Goryoran when you had this podcast with Black, because now it's just like I bought it 2 weeks prior to your podcast, and now I regret not selling him. Missed opportunity.
Like for example, I know like selling Kemish when he was like 70th or something, or I don't know, a crazy amount, was the right move, right? Like if you think about it 2 seconds, I think you want to do it. But like not having Kimmich in your lineup every game week is like, no, I don't want to feel that way. I want to be able to play him. And so like by doing that, like you're giving away value. And that's the hard thing to do with Sorare, is like knowing when you want to sell your players and when you don't, like knowing that you're probably missing out on profits.
Yeah. Is there anything else you guys want to touch on before our announcement? Or we just go to the announcement?
No, I don't want to delay it anymore.
I mean, I'm selling cards. Don't hesitate to reach out. But I'm also buying cards. Yeah, if anyone have a Cara from Napoli, if they want to sell it, like I'm your guy. That's the only thing I want to say.
That is not the announcement that we're all here for.
No,
Maxi, I'm going to let you do it since you're the one in charge here, but I am just going to ruin it here as I add the graphic to our screen.
Yeah, do we have a giveaway before or after?
No.
Okay.
Oh, he's even here.
So, yeah, he's here. So welcome.
It is time.
And yeah, we're very happy to have our new ambassador. And sorry, I'm not sure about how to pronounce it properly. Chani. Okay. Okay, Chani. Because in French I'm doing like Kanye or whatever. So okay. Welcome, and like it's a great member of the community. I think you guys know about him like for a long time now, and he has been very supportive of our work, obviously, and I think he's one of the greatest content creator out there, creator out there. And we're thrilled to have him as our new ambassador. So alongside John Nellis for the English content, we have like a great lineup. I'm so proud of the lineup that we have. And obviously like Phil's and the Noob for the French community are also very cool ambassador. And so if you are not subscribed to SorareData just now and you want to give it a try, you have of course two weeks for free. And if you use the code Chani, so CANI, when you subscribe, they are rewarded as well. So you can reward their work by subscribing with that code. So yeah, I've heard on Twitter that John Ellis is a millionaire right now and is making millions a year. I cannot disclose the salary we're paying to John Ellis, but I can say it's an incredible amount of money. But yeah, welcome to the Millionaire Club.
Yes. Yeah, we're all very excited about this, and Chani, I'm glad you're here to join us, and then John here welcoming Chani, which is always great. We're developing this really nice network of people who actually use SorareData and like know the value that it brings, and so yeah, we're just really excited to have another one here. Definitely.
Yeah. And I'm like yeah, I'm very happy, and obviously that we are always exploring ways to like work with the community, but working with ambassadors is also allowing us to put a spotlight on some of our features that are not necessarily well known. And yeah, we're looking forward to see our ambassadors like doing some educational content, and John is a beast at doing that, so I'm looking forward to see Chani do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, congrats and congrats for all your work, and welcome to the team. And all the team is very excited to see you do your magic. And yeah, so we need jerseys, man. We need jerseys. We need SorareData jerseys at some point in time. I mean, we need to send them to ambassadors.
Ambassador, what about us?
Yeah.
I mean, you're second in line.
We're second. Yeah, we just moved down the list, just pushed down a little further. That's all. Oh well. Anyway,
yeah.
Thank you for that. Thank you to everybody who has joined us. If you guys haven't hit the like button because of everything we talked about, you can surely just do it because of the Chani announcement. That's always really great. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, if you could please do so. I assume Sean will be back next week, but you never know. Maybe we fired him. Who knows? We'll see. But yeah, thank you, everyone. And good luck this game week and the weekend.